Hello and welcome back to another aircraft guide. Today we are looking at what might be the best jet fighter in the entire game. And yes, you heard me right, this little gem here, the Heinkel He162, is in my opinion one of the best, if not the best jet in the game. And I realize that many people struggle with the 162. I see it myself when I fly this thing and meet other 162 players. And on the forums, they say that this thing is not that good. But I couldn't disagree more. I absolutely love the HG162. It is tremendous fun to play. Um, and today I'm going to tell you all about it. I mean, this really is. If you know what you're doing, this is just so much fun to fly. But today we're going to take a look at the history of the aircraft in game, and then get around to show you what I am able to do with this little lightweight fighter. So let's start right ahead with the history part. The Heinkel 162 is a lightweight, easy to produce jet fighter from the final stage of World War II, developed by Nazi Germany. It was the second jet fighter to enter service with Germany, and depending on the version, the fastest jet of World War II. Note that I said jet, I realized the Me-163 was faster, but the Me-163 is a rocket aircraft, not a jet. The origins of the Heinkel 162 trace back to 1944. Initially, it was known as the Project P-1073, which called for a futuristic jet fighter with two engines, one below and one above the fuselage. By omitting the lower engine, the groundwork for the 162 was laid. And you have to realize that Allied bomber streams in 1944 were decimating German industry, and German interceptors had difficulty engaging them because of large fighter sweeps being flown in front of the bomber boxes by escorting Mustangs. Before that, the German interceptors actually had kind of a field day when they met B-17s and B-24s unescorted, particularly the heavy fighters were very successful in downing large numbers of them. However, when the Mustangs appeared, this kind of golden age for the interceptors was over, since there were a lot of them and they were flying preemptive fighter sweeps well ahead of the bomber formations in order to clear the skies of any opposing fighters. Germany therefore needed to focus aircraft production on fighter aircraft to get as many interceptors in the air as possible. And this led to something called the Emergency Fighter Program. The new Messerschmitt 262 coming to service at the time proved already a deadly aircraft, and it was effective, but was also plagued by mechanical difficulties, mainly by the engines, which led to many 262s just sitting on the ground without engines or without fuel. What was therefore needed was a small, lightweight, easy to produce jet fighter with enough performance to outcompete enemy fighters, and also needed to be easy to fly, since Germany had a chronic lack of experienced pilots by 1944, and therefore even student pilots were to be able to fly this new machine. Hence, the Volksjäger project was born in August of 1944. The Volksjäger project called for a fighter with a BMW 003 engine. This was chosen because the 003 was not in demand for other jet aircraft. Remember, the Messerschmitt 262 and the Arado 234 were both powered by the UMO 004 engine. The new fighter was to weigh no more than 2 tons, had a top speed of at least 750 km per hour, a 30-minute endurance, two 20mm cannons or two 30mm cannons as armament, and was to be very easy to build, with a takeoff run no more than 500 meters. As it would turn out, the Heinkel 162 would surpass some of these aspects, but fall short on some of the other ones. As the P-1073 project was underway at this point for several months already, Heinkel had sort of a head start and easily won the competition. While not everyone was happy about the project, particularly Galland and Messerschmitt, as well as Focke-Wulf designer Kurt Tank, which feared that the Heinkel He162 program would eat up resources that were desperately needed for Messerschmitt 262 production. Heinkel was awarded with production contract for the now named Spatz. The RLM project ran under the name Salamander, while the Heinkel internal name for the aircraft was Spatz. The resulting aircraft was a sleek, small, single-seat jet fighter with a shoulder-mounted wing and a BMW 003 on top of its fuselage. The 003 provided less power than the UMO 004 with its 7.8 kilonewtons of thrust, but was a much lighter engine, fitting to the new aircraft. To start it, a small APU called a Riedelanlasser was used. This was also used on the 004 on the Messerschmitt 262, but since most of the pictures of the 003 show it without the D-shaped starter pole, it is thought that the starter unit on the BMW 3 was an electric one. The 003 was able to use overboost for a short period of time, giving extra power and allowing the 162 to go over 900 km per hour at altitude. The landing gear, funnily enough, was recycled from other aircraft. In order to get this thing into production as quickly as possible, the main landing gear legs and wheels were actually from the Messerschmitt Bf 109. Some of the prototypes were armed with 30mm Mk108s with 50 rounds per gun. This was known as the A1, but these proved too much for the lightweight fighter, and you have to remember that even the Mk108 was a weapon with a rather light recoil for its size, and even that proved too much for the 162's nose. It really was that much of a lightweight built aircraft. Therefore, two 20mm MG151s were installed with 120 rounds per gun. This became the A2 Dayfighter version, and this would be the only version to enter production. Because bailing out of the aircraft would be difficult because of the engine mounted on top of the fuselage, an ejection seat was fitted. The Heinkel He162 was the first jet to ever be fitted with such a system. The Germans pioneered this system on some of their propeller aircraft, particularly Heinkel 219, and also the Dornier 335 had an ejection seat, and this one was also fitted to the Heinkel He162. 695 liters of fuel could be carried in a single fuel tank, giving a range of 600 kilometers. There seems to be some discrepancy in sources, since some sources claim 600 kilometers and some 975 kilometers. I think this might be due to the fact that 600 miles is roughly 975 kilometers, so the mistake might come from that. Since the 162 had an endurance of roughly half an hour, I think 600 kilometers seems more likely, though I could be wrong on that. In order to conserve strategic materials, the 162 was constructed largely from wood, and in places was actually glued together, which was a process which was used to a number of these wooden aircraft. For example, the Focke-Wulf TAR 154 used the same type of glue. In record time, the first Heinkel He162 prototype took to the sky on the 6th December 1944, only 69 days after the contract was awarded and 90 days after it was designed. This really was unprecedented for the time. During the test flight, during the first flight, one of the landing gear doors separated from the aircraft, leading to an early landing. Otherwise, however, the first test was deemed successful. However, on the second test flight, part of the wing came loose and the aircraft rolled over, crashed, and killing its test pilot, Gotthard Peter, on impact. It was found that the glue that was used in parts of the aircraft was too corrosive and the wing needed further strengthening. The aircraft also suffered from lateral instability and snaking. None of these factors were deemed serious enough to disrupt the ongoing mass production of the aircraft, which means that a lot of the improvements were applied on the go. Small extensions to the wingtips, so-called lippisch Ohren, which translates to lippisch ears, were fitted to the wing to cure these stability problems. All of these improvements led to the 162 now exceeding its design weight, but with the 162s exceeding its performance figures quite significantly, this was overlooked. Loaded weight would now be 2.8 tons, which is still incredibly light if you remember that a fully laden BF-109K4 weighs a bit over 3 tons. And the 109K is still considered by that point a very light fighter aircraft. Large factories were set up underground, and different parts were manufactured by different companies, which was standard practice for Germany. In these underground facilities, the 162 was to be built in the thousands. Also, slave labor would be used to complete these aircraft. As an aircraft, as a maneuvering platform, the Heinkel 162 turned out to be fast, very maneuverable, with delicate controls. However, with these sensitive controls and the novelty of the new propulsion system, as well as the awkward engine placement, the 162 had its own kinks and quirks, and the 162 would prove to be difficult to fly for novice pilots, much more so for the intended Hitlerjugend students that were intended to fly this aircraft into combat. The 162's engine placement also made visibility to the rear difficult. The aircraft had very short endurance, which more often than not actually led to flameouts because the aircraft was running out of fuel, and this caused a lot of 162s to crash short of the runway. It was also noted that the 162 was incredibly difficult to land dead stick, and with a rather high wing loading of 250 kilograms per square meter, the 162 also had a rather high landing speed. To exacerbate this even further, the engine reacted very poorly to power shifts, and the aircraft were therefore very vulnerable on landing approach. The first unit to receive the new aircraft was Erprobungskommando 162, which was set up by Super Ace Heinz Beer to familiarize new pilots with the aircraft and evaluate the type. At around the same time, the first 162 squad was formed, Jagdgeschwader 1, which transitioned from the Focke-Wulf 90 to the new jet fighter. Thanks to fuel shortages and bombing of airfields, they did not see action until April of 1945, when a number of sorties were flown. Many crashes occurred, but only a small number of the aircraft were actually lost to combat, most of these during landing. Heinkel 162 pilots most likely scored 2 victories in the air in their very operational time. However, these are not really verified. A lot of the kills during these last weeks of World War II were not really verified, but it is likely that they were only 2. And after Hitler's death on 30th of April 1945, the remaining 162s were grounded, some falling into Allied hands. Sources kind of differ to the actual number of these aircraft being produced. They range from 170 to 300. Hundreds of 162s were in various states of completion, so this might be where the discrepancies come from. The Luftwaffe received, however, even less than these produced, with a lot of them just awaiting final parts or just standing around waiting for fuel. The aircraft would be extensively tested by the Soviets and the Allies, with famed British test pilot Eric Brown flying one of them and said that it had some of the best controls he had ever experienced. And likewise, an experienced Luftwaffe pilot called the 162 a first-class combat aircraft. Now, the 162 is often said to, when you look at lists with the worst fighters of World War II, the 162 sometimes finds itself out there However, that might be a little bit unfair. Keep in mind that the Heinkel 162 was rushed into production and service in record time, and for what it was, it really was a pretty heavy hitter. The aircraft was in service for only very few months, and keep in mind that even in these few months there were even fewer sorties thanks to a chronic lack of spare parts and fuel. It is likely that the 162, should the war had gone over, would have developed into really a very, very good first-class combat aircraft, as one of the Luftwaffe pilots stated, with continuous improvement and better pilot training. In fact, there was a dedicated trainer version of the Heinkel 162S, which was intended to familiarize new pilots with the type, to really get them to train with this really unconventional aircraft. However, because the war ended before any of this could really happen, could take effect, 162 only had very limited time in operation, and with the Allied having complete air domination at this point, you can see why this aircraft did not really have much of an impact. Several of the 162s actually have survived, and there are some residing in museums today. However, none of them are airworthy. Variants include the 162A3 with a reinforced nose. This was so that the aircraft could be fitted with the 30mm Mk108. Two prototypes were also fitted with the UMO-4D engine, creating the Heinkel 162A8, and this might be the version I am most excited about, because I really hope that this one comes into the game, because with the UMO-4D engine, this is the engine that powers the Horten 229 in-game, and putting that engine on this small light aircraft would result in a tremendous gain in thrust and performance. Reportedly, these prototypes reached over 960 km per hour at altitude, making them some very, very fast aircraft for the time. There was also the 162E, which was powered by a mixed-powered engine, with the 003 supplemented by a rocket engine. This is the same installation we see in the 262C2B Heimatschützer 2 we have in-game. There was also the C version with a swept-back wing, and most interesting, the 162D, which had a V-tail and a novel forward-swept wing. A partial prototype of this was built apparently with the intention to switch out either the backwards-facing wing or the forward-facing wing. And also, as we just stated earlier, to combat the 162's difficulties for new pilots, a training variant called the 162S was also built, but did not enter mass production before the war ended. And yeah, that brings the history part for the Heinkel 162 to an end. It really is a very interesting aircraft, and it is kind of unfortunate for the machine that it only had such little impact on the war, and basically is just a footnote in the last stages of World War II. I really think this is a magnificent plane. It's easy on the eyes. It looks modern, particularly in the cockpit section. And I have seen one of those. We have one of these in Germany. I have seen one of those, and it really is a gorgeous looking machine. And here in War Thunder, it is also quite a beast, at least in my opinion. And now I'm gonna tell you why this is. Let's take a look then at the HE162 here in game. It sits at a battle rating of 6.0 in RB and 6.3 in AB. It is the entry jet for Germany should you decide to go down the FW190 line, and it gets followed by the MiG-15 bis, so this is quite a big step, but it is what it is. The Heinkel 162 is a lightweight fighter, of course. It is armed with two 20mm MG151 cannons. top speed 840 kilometers seems about right. Yeah. Keep in mind, this is a very expensive aircraft to operate. It has a max repair cost of 14,690. Should you be low on money and don't know what you are doing, this is not an aircraft you really want to fly out. Modifications wise, there's not that much. You have flight performance, survivability and weaponry, no secondary armaments. This is a thoroughbred fighter, like the MB5 we covered in an earlier video. This thing is fully geared towards the air-to-air role. Go for the performance mods first, and the armament mods after that. Do these two last if possible. You really want to have all the performance you get, and the weaponry, it's really important you get the belts, because the standard belts, they suck pretty hard, and you want to have either the air target belts or the stealth belts. Personally, I would prefer the stealth belts, because the 162 is an aircraft that really benefits from getting from having the element of surprise on its side. So that would be my recommendation for the aircraft. Skins, they are free available. You have the standard skin that you get when you purchase the aircraft, which is the standard late war color scheme for the 162. You have the prototype camouflage, which is just a dull grey, which personally I don't like that much. And then you get the 162A2 Nervenklau skin, which is one of the machines that I think still survives today, and is actually a pretty decent looking skin if you ask me. Now let's come to the test flight segment of this video. The Heinkel 162 is an early jet and therefore suffers from the same problem that most early jets do, that being rather low thrust at low speed. The BMW 003 is in general a rather low power jet engine. 8.7 kilonewtons of thrust is not that much, and this means that the Heinkel 162 has a comparatively long takeoff run and bad acceleration at low speed. However, thanks to the 162's rather light airframe, the effect is not as pronounced as in, for example, the Me262. Optimal takeoff speed should be around 220 km per hour. There the aircraft can comfortably take off without bouncing back on the airfield. And as you can see, the acceleration is not the best, but it certainly could be worse. The engine tends to overheat, particularly at full power, rather quickly, but it also cools down very fast. In general, this Überlast on the BMW 003 is actually quite a handy thing to have. This sort of extra 8% thrust certainly can help in some situations. Now, the Heinkel 162 in general. In order to become a good 162 player, you need to have one thing, and that is patience. The 162 is a very fun and very rewarding aircraft to fly. However, it's also very unforgiving to mistakes. Lots of players make the mistake to try to either turn, fight with this thing, and they usually do so at low speeds. If the 162, in basically all of the early jets, but particularly 162, speed is your biggest weapon. And that the 162 certainly has. However, it gets, as you can see, it gets some time to really reach that kind of speed. Try to keep the speed always above 600 kilometers per hour to give you that extra window to out-accelerate anything that follows you, or not to out-accelerate but to outrun. Speaking of which, and what I mean with the patience is that you will have lots of enemy fighters trying to get you because you're a jet, and they will follow you for quite some distance, so it can be a little bit frustrating flying this thing, because you cannot engage them. In such situations you can't really dogfight them one-on-one. The 162 is not a dogfighter. It is a boom and zoomer, or it likes to perform slashing attacks, trying to surprise your opponent. So you will see lots of times you just go in a straight line trying to shake your opponent and then re-engage. which can be frustrating, particularly to new players who have just gotten their first jet and want to see some action. The 162's climb rate is pretty decent, particularly for an early jet. It's not that good compared to some of the super props, but the good thing about the 162 is that it is a very flexible aircraft, despite not being a good dogfighter, but it feels at home both at high and low altitude. As long as you keep your speed up, the 162 becomes virtually untouchable. If you know what you're doing, there is no aircraft that can really harm you. The 162 is particularly good in a dive. You can easily go over 900 km per hour and it will hold the speed and pull out really well. Let's put her into a steep dive, already over 800. It also maintains it's very easy to control even up to high speeds. As you can see, we are 900 km per hour into the dive, and look at how it holds that speed. The controls get a little bit stiffer, but not to an extent that it becomes impossible to get it out of the dive in time. Good tactics for the 162 are to perform slashing attacks, diving on your opponent, then make your shot, and if you miss, just out, either go straight ahead or zoom up. Thanks to the energy bonus you will have built up in dives, the 162, despite its high wing loading and bad low speed performance, will be able to hang in the climb much longer than any of the prop fighters, because it can build up just so much energy in a dive. Maneuvers should be restricted to to those that conserve your energy. Don't go horizontal with the 162 at any time. The 162 is a terrible horizontal maneuvering platform. As you can see, it takes forever to turn and it doesn't get really that much better at high speed. What it does, however, have is agility. It's an extremely responsive aircraft with a very high rate of roll, particularly at around 500 to 600 km per hour. It reacts to input beautifully. The only thing that it kind of lacks is rudder authority. It's not that good, but still. The 162 is an aircraft that really places a lot of emphasis on rolling maneuvers. It can perform this if you press Q, A, and one of the arrow keys. It can perform this maneuver. And this can be very helpful to dodge incoming bullets, particularly when they try to go head on with you, which, by the way, you should not do with the 162, despite its forward-facing armament being mounted in the nose. This is not really an aircraft to go head on with. Other tactics you can use are the aircraft is, thanks to its awkward engine placement, it can sort of snap turn. This is particularly helpful in a dive. Position yourself right on top of your opponent, dive down at a 90-degree angle, and if he spots you, he will either try to go left or right, and then you can just roll into his turn. And thanks to the awkward engine placement, it sort of snaps into the turn, and this can make the 162 this can make all the difference between a kill and not getting a kill. And the 162 is really good for such maneuvers. Another thing you can do is, thanks to the 162's, or because of the 162's lack of really rudder authority, it is not particularly good in performing hammerheads, where you just use the rudder to wing over and dive down again. However, it can perform a very sharp turn at the edge of the climb with a little bit of rudder, and thanks again to the awkward engine placement, it easily will be able to get down and turn inside your opponent. Those are at least my favorite tactics to use the 162 for, and these in general work rather well. The 162 is geared towards the anti-fighter role. It has no secondary armaments. It only has these 220s with 120 rounds per gun, and with its high speed, it really is just built for engaging enemy fighters. in energy and boom and zoom maneuvers. It's also a very good low-level interceptor for killing enemy attackers like Sky Raiders and the likes. However, where it struggles is of course against enemy heavy bombers. The aircraft does not really have the armament for it, and it certainly does not have the structural integrity to absorb a lot of punishment. The 162 is a rather flimsy aircraft. It's made of wood, it burns easily, and it does not react well to damage whatsoever. With all that, the He162 really is a dream to fly for any fighter pilot. It certainly gives you a lot of flexibility on the battlefield, and again, if you fly it correctly, the 162 becomes virtually untouchable. Now, that should be it on how to use the Heinkel 162 in the air. Let's put these theories to the test, shall we? Now for our first presentation here with the Heinkel 162, we are at altitude and oh, first aircraft spotted is an AU-1. Let's see. Okay. So again, we are first trying to use this thing as a low-level interceptor. He's clearly on an attack run. This means he is probably distracted, and we might have a chance to easily get him. And just look at how fast I am coming in here. Over 900 kilometers per hour, and I'm easily maintaining controllability with this aircraft. Let's get as close as possible with these 20s. And yeah, easy first kill. Zoom climb up to convert that build-up speed back into altitude. Classic boom and zoom maneuver. And I'm already keeping an eye out for any enemy fighters, but it seems we are clear for the moment here. Level out, as you can see, even negative maneuvers thanks to that great elevator control. No problemo. We have a bunch of B-17s up there. They do have quite a lot of bombers. You can see, okay, one is down. Still at least two left, I can see. Alright. We have distanced ourselves quite a lot from the battlefield, but that gives us time to prepare to really single out a target that we're gonna attack. A good pilot always knows where and what he engages. Okay, we have a Corsair up high. 7 Spitfires and P-51s. One Spitfire at roughly the same altitude as we are. Might be a viable target. Okay, one is coming in. Oh. Might get a few shots in that PBY if we... I know that, let's risk... Okay, he's dead. Good. Break off. Spitfire behind us. Okay, kind of at a low speed. The distance is fine. Yeah, I have team support. I can risk it a little bit. Let's get a thing into a slight dive to build up speed to attack. Okay, he's coming our way. Let's evade his shot. Okay, he's not going after me. Alright. Let's not follow him into a turn. Let's distance ourselves and then re-engage. He's now below us, which means we can build up a lot of energy in a dive and try to catch him. Oh, and another Spitfire. And that poor 190, he certainly is in a lot of trouble. He has 2 Spitfires up his ass. If I'd be that 190, I'd be sweating bullets right now. Okay, that Spitfire has certainly seen us. Nope, not gonna waste any bullets on that. This one seems a little bit distracted. Okay, yes. Let's hope he won't notice us. And I don't think he has. Oh, no, he did. Damn it. Come on. Ah! Sort of missed the shot. Okay, not following the turn, of course. Gonna outspeed him. Put her into another power climb. And just look, this guy cannot follow. Now we're gonna roll over at the top of the climb and perform another attack on him. He's now low on energy and an easy target for me. Let's see, it's snapping into the turn and boom! On fire, not following, just again continue to dive and just go straight ahead. Now I have another enemy aircraft behind me, which means I will just open up the throttle. Spitfire's down, great, and outspeed him. Yeah, no chance whatsoever. Okay, let's see. 2 kills so far. I have her in a shallow climb. I'm planning on re-engaging that Corsair, but I need more altitude. Alright. What's he up to? It's also a Mustang. Yeah. Oh. That JO188 might be... he's not falling for the bait. I was kind of hoping that he might be able to fall for the bait and get that 188, but they do seem to be fixated on me. I mean, I am the more dangerous target after all. Okay. Course has broken off. The Mustang is following the 188. Let's see. We have a good deal of altitude, which we can convert into speed. Yeah, buddy, surprise! It's me! Come on, and just missed the shot. Okay, no problem. Yeah, Mustang is trying to reverse the turn, but I am already way too fast for him. Evade his shots, put her into another power climb, and he should not be able to follow. Rinse and repeat. Okay, let's wing over, a little bit of rudder, and get her down for another attack run. Yep, and again, we're sort of snapping into the turn, and still missed it, god damn it. Okay, no problem, let's again just put on the throttle and outrun him. Evade his shots again. Over 600 kilometers per hour. We should be very safe here. Put some distance in, then get into another climb. The course is also there again. And now the cavalry has arrived. FW190 and a BF-9 up high. And he sort of missed it, okay. Then again, let's snap into the turn. Come on, this third time's the charm. And come on, last time, yes! Got him! Holy shit! with the last of my ammo, holy hell. But yeah, that's gotta show. The 162 is not that good of a turn fighter. But when it comes to these vertical maneuvers and sort of catching enemies in their turn, it really is one hell of a machine. I love it. I love it so much. And as you can see, it remains also its controllability also down to very low speed. At least the aileron authority is still pretty good. However, it does not want to slow down on the run field, but that doesn't matter. Yep, we've won. We've won 3 kills. Not too bad. And here are the results. Oh, Not that bad at all. Second on the team, I can live with that. And we're here in the final presentation now for the Heinkel He162. This is post-battle commentary. We are here at a 6-3 battle. So we have a slight up tier. Nothing, however, the He162 can't handle though. We are here on our first attack run, several targets spotted. I keep an eye out for the P38G there. I don't know what he is doing here. He's failed platooning up with someone apparently. Yeah. So I'm going in here for an easy kill, not to mention he seems to be distracted. Building up my speed. Closing the distance exceptionally fast here. And if he doesn't break, this should be my first kill. Fixated on the target, which allows me to close in and blow his ass out of the sky. Immediately break off. There's a Mustang incoming, trying to get the pipper on him, but not happening, so I take it into the vertical, throwing off his attack run and keeping her into the climb, then loop around to make another attack run. Always remember, these should be your standard tactics with the He162. I'm now out of the, now gone into the next dive, trying to get on the tail of the P51. Seems to be distracted on that bomber. Line up the shot and, yep, there's kill number 2. Easy peasy. Continue the run, then trying to get on that A1's tail, and then an F82 takes the shot at me. And this is where I nearly die. I mean, this is where I made a mistake. I should have had more situational awareness in that situation, but completely missed that F82. However, the He162's speed kind of saved me here. So yeah, that's got to show that one of the that you really need to pay attention when flying this aircraft. This could very easily have gotten me killed there. Line up the shot on the A1, but miss it. I'm not following him in his turn. Instead, I'm going into the vertical again, converting that built-up speed into altitude, then loop around and go for another attack run. Kind of slow here, so I need to really check my surroundings this time, not to get jumped again, and then immediately put her into a dive again to build up that speed to allow me to have all the flexibility that this aircraft offers. Choice of 2 targets here. Evade the F82 and take a shot at the PB4Y, and this again got kind of lucky here. This really shows that the He162 is not very good for engaging bombers. Took a hit, hit my pilot. Yeah, structural damage to the aircraft, not that much, but my pilot got hit quite severely. This really shows the He162 is really geared towards the anti-fighter role. Almost 100 rounds left in total. Prowling the battlefield, seeing what aircraft I should engage next. I am lining up a shot to make another run on the bomber, even though I probably shouldn't. I'm keeping her high, see how the battle unfolds, and then try to make a very high speed dash towards him, get a few shots on, and then evade as quickly as possible. He seems to be focused on another aircraft, however the Focke-Wulf gets the kill on the... no, it actually AAA gets the kill on the PB4Y. I didn't notice this earlier, what the fuck? Oh damn, AAA stole my kill. Anyways, now I am not in a great situation. I have the entire enemy team behind me. However, thanks to my excess of speed, I can easily evade them, put the He162 into another climb to set me up to make another attack run. Okay, and this is where one of the enemy aircraft tries to follow me. And you will see this a lot of enemy pilots trying to just run the He162 down, which can be a little bit frustrating because it gets boring and, well, they can't catch you anyways, and you just need to make a very wide circle to re-enter the battle area or just fly straight ahead until he breaks off, which he does now, which means I can again convert my build-up speed into altitude. And as you can see, flying the 162 is actually not that difficult if you follow the sets of rules I posted up in the test flight segment. If you follow them, the 162 is actually quite an easy learning curve, and you should be doing well if you follow these rules. Now my team is dying like flies here, so this really kind of depends on me. I'm above the enemy aircraft, lining up on another attack run. This time on this Tempest, trying to get the shot off, and there's another kill. Funnily enough, the Tempest, one of the very few air-to-air kills the 162 scored in its very short operational career, was on a Hawker Tempest. So now I'm sitting on 3 kills here, with 1 stolen by AAA. But I'm very short of ammunition, and yeah, so I'm going in for landing. So we skip ahead a little bit, because watching me just land this plane is just not that interesting, I guess. But yeah, you can see here, making a landing approach, roughly 200 km per hour landing speed. Easy peasy getting this thing onto the ground. As you can see, however, the 162 does really not like to slow down on the runway. The 162 has kind of weak brakes, in my experience. So this is something you need to keep an eye out for, particularly on shorter runways, so that you don't overrun them and crash. Always apply a little bit of rudder once you are below 80 km per hour, so that you can just get this thing to a stop a little bit quicker, sort of drift it to a stop. And we are now repairing. 5 seconds ago till this aircraft is rearmed. Then we again will spool a little bit ahead. We are just now taking off and trying to get into the main battle area again. There are 2 enemy aircraft left. We do have a bunch of bombers, but well, this really is this is me just carrying this team right now. One of the enemy aircraft is the F-82, the other one is a heavy bomber, so I need to be careful here. I have one of them spotted already. We are still maintaining the climb to be able to position ourselves right above him to build up as much speed as possible. Also need to be careful since they are rather near to their airfield, so not us to get shot down by flak. And then the F-8, and I spot the F-82. This is now an interesting situation, because the F-82, because the 162 can actually dogfight with the F-82 on one-on-one terms, so I can play this a little bit more aggressively than usual. However, since I do have the altitude advantage, I don't really need to. I can just sort of bleed his energy, and F-82 is gonna do what F-82s are gonna do. He tries to head me on. I feint head on, get a few shots up, and then immediately pull up, so that he cannot get his nose up high enough to shoot at me. And this is where he tries to dive, and I just simply loop the 162 around with its good agility and good vertical performance, and I am now inside his turn. And this allows me to easily get the shot on him. Again, he tries to tighten his turn, but I can just sort of snap into the turn, get a shot off, and set his engine on fire. And this will eventually finish him off. I do not need to follow into his turn and just take it to the vertical, roll her around, should he put the fire out. But he doesn't, which means I can break off this attack run, and just now can focus on downing the last enemy aircraft, which is the B-24. He has managed to return to his runway. And I need to give him credit. He does take off again. So this is a few minutes later where he has rearmed, repaired, and he is taking off. I spot him down below. Really kudos to him. He could have just left the battle, and I wouldn't have taken it against him. I mean, he he was gonna lose. He could have saved him his Silver Lines, but he chose to fight, so props to him. And I'm now just circling him like a hawk, setting up the perfect attack run. I'm rolling in, building up all the speed I get. I mean, they do have plenty of ammunition left, but I need to be careful not to get shot again by his gunners. Going for, coming from the rear quarter panel, and get the kill. Got kind of lucky there that I killed him that quickly, and immediately bug out, and that's an ace with the Heinkel He162. So yeah, this is certainly not a bad aircraft. Anyone who says the He162 is a bad jet just has no idea how to fly this thing. I have to admit, this thing is just so much fun to fly, and well, that's why I think the He162 is one of the best, if not the best jet in the game, at least in my opinion. And this kind of shows why. 5 kills, ace. Should have gotten 6 kills actually, since the AAA kill. I should have at least gotten an assist for that, but hey, that's what it is. And yeah. And with that, we come to an end for this video about the Heinkel He162. I freaking love this thing, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that this thing right now is one of the best jets in the game, period. I really, really like it that much. I have a great KD with it. I've flown this aircraft over the years for so long. I really come to love it. And as far as I get it, not that many pilots really like the He162. You don't see them as excessively as you see like TAR 152s, but I think this thing is just, for me, it's unbeatable. I just enjoy it so much, and I can't wait for other variants of the He162, particularly the A8, to hit the game. This really is tremendous fun to fly. I can only recommend it. But yeah, with that we come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, maybe even learned something, and I'll catch you on the next one.